I've known Alessandro for a long time now, and because we've both worked on Afghanistan and we've worked on different issues that are linked to international governance. Alessandro looked at the refugee regime and mobility and the global governance of people on the move in this region of the world. And I've looked at the post-war reconstruction moment in Afghanistan from the perspective of gender justice or women's political participation and so on and so forth. And then I moved away from Afghanistan after my PhD, looking at the UN and now at the ICRC and seeing some kinds of repetition, which broadly could be framed in terms of bureaucracy, certain formats, models that you can find in different places and that seem to be repeating themselves. And we thought, okay, what is this about? Why is it that when I research Afghanistan and then I moved to Geneva to look at the UN Human Rights Council and then I moved to the ICRC, I come across these templates over and over again. So that's one point. And the second point is that we also kind of started to think about the utopias that this organization embody. The kind of ideals that they seem to be in charge of spreading around the world, ideas of equality, of transparency, of collaboration between states, and how this ideal seems to gradually vanish behind these templates and these workshops and these working groups and these documents that they produce, and how the teeth somehow of what makes them appealing are vanishing through these processes. And I think Geneva is particularly well placed to look at that, and I think there is a scope for anthropologists to bring about this insider's vision of this organization, and not only come with this narrative of deception and disenchantment, but also look at the passion that people invest in this organization. So this is this tension that we're trying to unpack during these 2 days.
So the workshop Julie Billot, my dear colleague, and myself have organized is funded by the Swiss National Foundation. And we started to have our discussions on the fact that today maybe we are in a post-Cold War world where all the utopias and the dreams who were moving people in the 90s are somehow still around, floating in the vocabulary of many UN agencies and NGOs, but probably don't make dream people anymore. So we wanted to know how is the everyday practices of these bureaucrats of big ideas, and that's why we gave this the title, The Bureaucratization of Utopia. And we brought together a group of academics who are working in different settings and trying to make sense ethnographically of the practices of people who are somehow embodying in their bodies and the practices these dreams and these dreams and hopes for a better world. I think that's enough. Oh, probably I can say a few words on So this kind of topics is exactly the kind of things we would like to develop at the Department of Anthropology and Sociology. So bringing this perspective of everyday practices, but to bring them to a higher level of generality and to show the relevance of studying people practices to understand big issues about today's world.
Excellent.
Today I'm sharing some insights from my ongoing research, which focuses on the UN Human Rights Committee. And what's really exciting is always to be here at the Grad Institute, because somehow the glass building in itself is so sort of inspiring for this kind of research. When we see the transparency that's so centrally present in the idealized versions of UN bureaucracies, for example, we see it being embodied by this building. And to be able to come here together and share this idea and other reflections with our colleagues who work on similar issues, some same bodies within the UN, some other bodies, maybe other international organizations, is really, really inspiring, and I think pushes all of us further in our ongoing individual and collective efforts to understand international governance.
Really thankful for the invitation to be here and have the opportunity to share a little bit about the work that I've been doing on the meaning of the human right to water and how that is being implemented in 2 places in Latin America, Costa Rica and Brazil. And most pointedly, what I wanted to suggest and to invite people to do is to think about the meaning and the tools and the people and the organizations that are implementing the human right to water in places that are unexpected. That is outside of courts, outside maybe of government offices, and try to think what are the specific behaviors and specific projects that they are unfolding, sort of to create a complementary sense of what might having water mean for people all over the world, clean water in sufficient quantity and sufficient quality, and all of the energies that are being mobilized to make that happen.